looking at energy resources. You need to be able to compare the current energy resources we use. You will need to consider whether the energy resources are renewable or non-renewable, what they're used for, and any social, political, ethical, or economic considerations. The current energy resources in use are nuclear, fossil fuels, biofuels, wind, sun, hydroelectricity, the tides, and waves. A renewable energy resource can be replenished as it's used. Non-renewable energy resources are finite, so watch out because before you know it, they'll be gone. Nuclear power is a reliable energy resource that has a high power output and it's used to produce electricity. It's non-renewable but does not release CO2. Nuclear power stations are expensive to build and produce nuclear waste that is very difficult to dispose of safely. Fossil fuels are the ones that you're used to seeing. They'll fuel your car, heat your home, and can be used to produce glorious electricity. Examples of these to remember for your exam are oil, coal, and gas. They are widely used and are a reliable energy resource. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of some of the issues around global warming and climate change. Fossil fuels are non-renewable and produce CO2, a greenhouse gas. This makes them public enemy number one. Some countries rely on exporting fossil fuels, so are keen that they are still widely used. Less economically developed countries may not have the funds required to use other forms of energy resources. Biofuels, such as using plants to make fuel for cars or using food waste to produce gas, are a renewable energy resource and are also carbon neutral. Carbon neutral means that although they release CO2 when they are burnt, the plants have already taken in the carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. So they're actually not adding any extra carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Big bonus. If biofuels became widely used, they would require large farming areas, which could result in the destruction of natural habitats. Wind is a renewable energy resource that is used to produce electricity. However, it is unreliable. If the wind stops halfway through the FA Cup final, you won't be checking the score until tomorrow's newspaper. Wind farms can also take up a large area, and some people complain that they are ugly and ruin the view. Not the view, Jeremy. We paid good money for the view. The sun can be used to produce electricity and heat water. Solar panels are also dependent on the weather. If there's no sun, there's no power. They can only be used during the day, so there needs to be a way to store electricity or hot water. The great thing about solar panels, though, is that there's very little impact on the environment. Hydroelectricity, tides and waves can all be used to produce electricity and are a renewable energy resource. However, they have different advantages and disadvantages. Hydroelectricity uses dams to collect water. This results in habitat destruction, but allows for a large amount of electricity that can be produced and controlled. In fact, during the ad breaks in Coronation Street, electricity production has to be increased because every granny gets up and makes themselves a lovely cup of tea. The tides and waves can be used to produce electricity but require turbines to be placed in the water. This can damage marine animals. Tides, however, are really predictable, so it's reliable, unlike waves, which are less predictable. You may need to be able to look at data and make suggestions. If we look at the data produced by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, which I'm sure we do on a daily basis, you should notice several things. The overall percentage of energy sources from low carbon sources has increased, and the biggest increase has been in bioenergy. You may be asked to suggest reasons why there's been a larger increase in wind power rather than hydro. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you could say things such as hydroelectricity causes habitat destruction and residents may need to move from their homes. And although some people think that wind turbines are ugly, they cause very little damage to the environment. So, To summarise, the energy resources currently used are nuclear, fossil fuels, biofuels, wind, sun, hydroelectricity, the tides and waves. A renewable energy resource can be replenished as it's being used. Non-renewable energy resources are finite. This means limited, and they will eventually run out. Nuclear energy and fossil fuels are non-renewable. Biofuels, wind, sun, hydroelectricity, the tides and waves are all examples of renewable energy resources.